Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. It's Pastor Dow here. You know, I'm deeply concerned, and of course, I've always been concerned. A lot of times, people will think that they're hearing me, but they're really truly not paying attention to what I'm saying. That's one thing about America that I've learned, because after all, I'm an American citizen, been one for 40-something years. Is that people exercise the art of selective hearing. We only hear what we want to hear, and then we think that we heard what somebody said, but the truth is we hear according to certain trigger words or impulses we have jacked up on the inside of us for some reason. But I didn't come here to talk about that. I came here this morning to talk about, is it not remarkable and amazing how blind we are, yet we say we see? I mean, we're operating under a two-party dictatorship politically in this country, the Democrats and the Republicans. And you see, it makes no difference which one that is in office. Both of them carry out the same warmongering policies. It was in early 2000 when we started this Patriot Act stuff that we actually made a president a dictator, kind of like Caesar. And as we can see, just check it out for yourself. The American people are supposed to allegedly elect their representatives, okay? But then when the representatives get up there, every one of them get corrupt. If they had good intentions, by the time they get to Washington up there with all them snakes, they end up getting corrupt. And we've seen under Bush, we saw under Obama, that they don't need any congressional approval whatsoever at all by a Senate whatsoever at all, or the Congress whatsoever at all, to declare war. Whatever NATO says, that's what they do, and that's all there's to it. See, that's letting you know that we are under a foreign rule, because the voice of the people is null, nil, and void in this country. We don't have any voice. The whole system is jacked up. And I'm sure that, many of you are wondering, what in the world do you do about it? Well, I don't think personally, I really truly don't. I don't think personally that Americans have what it takes to do what is necessary about it. That's just the truth. Somebody say, well, what about you? What about you? What about you? Well, I don't know. I think my resume is pretty good. I really truly do. But I'm here to try to bring information to you. I'm trying to help inform you. Because, most of us, we refuse to see. We don't even want to see it. As long as our little personal nest egg is not disturbed, then we're not alarmed. You take me as a pastor, for instance. I'm a pastor where the people, some receive me, some don't. So do you think I actually worry about the ones that don't? Do you think I worry about the ones who have dissenting viewpoints, who don't understand what I'm doing? No, not one bit. They added nothing to me, so hey, what difference does it make? The entitlement programs in this country is getting ready to go away. It has no choice but to go away. We can't continue. With $15 trillion, $16.4 trillion. That's what they just tell us, and that's not including unfunded liabilities. When you deal with Social Security and Medicaid, Medicare, and then you're dealing with the housing market on top of that. The truth is, we're more or less $100 trillion in debt. That's just as a country, and the whole debt of the whole entire world is in hock to a system called Zionism, and there's just no way it's going to be paid back. The ideal is to get as much and as many of you Americans in debt. Now, debt is slavery. It's just, you can use modern day terms. We can try to dress it up all you want, but debt is nothing but really modern day slavery. Because in the Bible, in the scriptures, it's forbidden for Israelites to charge usury. But, all the other countries, they exercise this so-called principle and they do it. We got to really, truly start doing our own independent research and really start looking at things. You know, I get a few people, they watch me, and no doubt from the very beginning, they get offended. And sometimes they get really hot and really upset. Later on, if the Holy Spirit's dealing with them, they'll go back and they'll hear something else I said. And it'll catch their mind for it. What in the world? See, it sounds different because it's a sound. It's a certain sound you're not used to hearing. It's a shofar. It's a different trumpet. And you got to understand, you're hardly ever going to get out of this life without offending someone. That's just, I mean, we're just wired that way. I think the biggest mistake that our system has made is now everybody can read and everybody can write if you choose to. There used to be a time that governments, monarchies, oligarchies used to control the people through illiteracy. You know, I mean, the people couldn't read. The people couldn't write. So therefore, hey, you don't have to worry about the people being intelligent. They used to go to church, sit down, be told by the religious system what the Bible says, what the book says. And then the people went on and they just functioned on in their whole life, not knowing the whole time that they're just getting jacked. They're being deceived and jacked. I guess that's the reason why I'm so passionate. Because, hey, the truth is, in this country, my descendants, the slaves, they were forbidden to read. They were forbidden to write. They were illiterate. And there was laws against my people to read and write. But then all of a sudden, they started opening up the doors and the black man started to get educated. Now they started reading and writing. Next thing you know, you got people like Booker T. Washington. You got people like Frederick Douglass. You have people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. You have people like myself and a few other people. When we start reading and writing, we begin to comprehend and understand for ourselves what's going on. It's easy for me to see what's going on because my people personally has been used to oppression. And we understand it very well. But the white Americans, they're not used to this kind of oppression. And they're just now waking up. And I think that everybody is coming to the reality that whether you be black or whether you be white in this country, we're all in the same ship and we're all in the same boat. And unless we start using some self-autonomy, unless we start thinking independent of what the system has given us, I hate to say this statement, but it's the truth. We deserve exactly what we get because we're repeating the same mistakes of the past. I mean, you have to understand, reading is painful. After you know, some people, they end up getting pleasure in reading because they begin to understand why that it's a necessity that you read. You know, thoughts are written down in books and they are carried over from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next. And when you have, and I've said it once, I said it 1,000 times, when you have the rulers who have conquered a certain nation and conquered a certain people, when you have them excluding certain points about history, when you have them presenting to you what they want as history, and then they take out all the other history and then they give you history, then hey, your mind is just not going to venture out to think any other way than the information that is presented there to you. So you have to actually go outside of the sources that you've been presented. And you've got to use some discernment. You've got to really, truly use some thinking. You know, there used to be a time that I used to believe that money, those greenbacks that we carry in our pocket, I used to think that was actual money until I started to do my own research. Probably about 12, 13 years ago. Then I started reading books. And I started, what in the world is going on? And hold on, let me show you one more other book. Start reading books. You know, stuff like this. Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations. And I started thinking, even more so, because see, when you have access to somebody else's thoughts, And of course, I have other books. I have books by Mike Maloney about history and the monetary system and stuff. And see, that is what helped change my viewpoint, is because I actually decided to go outside of the system that has been presented to us. And then I decided to use a balance and try to put and connect the dots together for my own self. And that's how I come up with the mindset that I have now and function. I mean, after all, you know, after centuries of being told what this says, this Bible right here, and then I turn around and I start reading it for myself rather than reading it with a thought that is already formed and shaped in my mind. I say, you know what? I need to actually wipe this thing out up here. That's what I need to do. And I need to actually go back and exercise some independent thinking, use the ability that I've learned, you know, through reading and comprehending, and read it for myself, and then just try to put the prophecies together with the renewed covenant. And I said, man, you know what? Even that thing, that Bible right there, those holy scriptures, they even talk different than the system that has been presented to us. The reason why there's so much ignorance in America is because there are not enough men and leaders, husbands, pastors, leaders in a community who's supposed to be the pillar of strength for the people. Everybody's not going to have this on them, but, you know, people have the ability to recognize the truth when they hear it. Yeah, they do. They really, truly do it. All they need to do is hear it. But if all that they have presented to them is a glass of dirty water, that's all they're going to drink. That's all they're going to drink. But if you give them some clean water, some purified water, they will drink that. And once they taste that water, they'll know the difference between what's clean and what's dirty.